Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. And then I post this up to Facebook and Patreon and all sorts of different social media stuff. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They have 40,000 therapists working for them. They are fantastic. I've gotten lots of good feedback from people using them. They like their therapist, which is a good thing. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so tons of stuff to talk about today. Appearances. I will be, if I could find my glasses, can't find my glasses. There we go. Okay, here we are. Appearances next weekend, Richmond, Virginia. December. July 20th will be Washington, D.C. August 5th will be York, Pennsylvania. August 10th will be Philadelphia. And then August 17th will be Nashville. And that will be all the appearances this year. So, because I'm busy the rest of the year with family stuff. So if you want to see me, go to my appearance page at chrisgodinez.com and just click on there and get a ticket and I will meet you. And basically, meet and greets are you get me for 2 hours. We get to talk. You get to ask me any questions mental health wise you want to, and we will chat and it'll be good. So there it is. And I really enjoy doing this. So anyway, there is that. Okay. Now, current events. And this one is a little disturbing. First of all, today is Father's Day. So for those of us who did not have good dads, I'm so sorry. I hear you. I feel you. I'm right there with you. So the best way to handle today is to just do something nice for you. Just like for people that didn't have good moms on Mother's Day. It's the same thing for Father's Day. I feel the same way because every time I hear like, oh, I had such a great dad and I love him and I miss him and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm glad mine's dead. So just do something nice for you and acknowledge it. It's like, yeah, I did not have a great dad. No, I did not have somebody that was kind and supportive and all of that. And that also doesn't mean that I need to feel like doo-doo today. So I'm going to go do something nice for myself. So that's what I encourage you to do. And it's you survived childhood in spite of them, not because of them, if you had a bad dad. So just, comfort yourself, love yourself, self-care like a boss, go do something nice for you and maybe write it out. Maybe today would be a good day to do an independence letter. This is my freaking Declaration of Independence. I am free of you, Dad. You know what? You weren't a good dad, and I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm not going to lie to other people. Nope, you weren't a good dad. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now, bye-bye. Go pound sand, Let yourself be free of that person. So anyway, and I know how tough these holidays can be. So gentle with you. So, all right, moving on. Current events. I read 2 news articles in this last week that just horrified me. So this one I got off of PBS, also on AP. Their state trooper who hid prior FBI sexual misconduct convicted of child rape in Alabama. So this guy had previously been discharged from the FBI for raping a colleague at knife point. He faked a letter in order to get this job as a state trooper. He went on to abuse that position of power. And remember, like I said, narcissists tend to be attracted to positions of power. It gets their little rocks off. They enjoy the idea that they are untouchable. So they like to be police officers, judges, attorneys, teachers, professors, any therapists, anybody who is in a position of power where they can abuse that position. They are attracted to that like nobody's business. Anyway, this guy, first of all, Alabama didn't do, obviously, a thorough background check, clearly. He faked a letter of recommendation from the FBI, managed to become a trooper in the state, and then went on to sexually abuse an 11-year-old girl. So, here's the other news. Phoenix you're number one. I usually do a middle finger on that one, but I can't. So they're number one for police brutality. Yay! Overusing guns to shoot suspects. Yay! You know why? There's no training. We had an oversight group one time and they gave up. They literally were like, we can't make them stop. We don't know what to do. So we're going to just throw our hands in the air and go, oh, I don't know, you know? So honestly, we need to demand that there's more training and that it's not just a heartbeat and a high school diploma. They actually need to understand the law. So write your senators, write your representatives, write your state people. This is a problem. I have a problem with this. When somebody who was an FBI agent was clever enough, usually one of the signs of, I'm not saying he's a psychopath, but usually one of the signs of psychopathy is that kind of deception. Clever enough to fake a letter, fake background, get into the state trooper thing, and then use that position to abuse a child. I just, not okay. Not okay. And so there's all sorts of lawsuits now about, well, did they do enough background checks? Clearly not. Did they, what? Oh, that was the other thing that they talked about in the article on the NPR and APP. So apparently the interstate troopers don't talk to each other. There's no database, or they're not required to report to a database. So what ends up happening with these abusers who become police officers, as soon as they get caught in one area or one state, they move. And they've shown this over and over and over again. And they talk about it in both of those articles, that once they get caught, just typical abuser, they move to some place where they're not known. They create a whole new identity, or they wipe out whatever they did, and they come across as squeaky clean, and then they start their abuse all over again. And they just keep doing that. They just move from state to state. And there was no way to track them. I think that needs to stop. That's absolutely what needs to be addressed, because that's how children get abused by narcissists or abusers in positions of power like that. So this girl needlessly went through all of this horrible sexual trauma because nobody did their due diligence, and there was no communication between the different police jurisdictions. And there needs to be, because clearly this is not an isolated instance. They talked about dozens of them. So yeah, anyway, that's my current event. Contact your representatives, state and local, federal, all of it. There needs to be communication. When somebody is disciplined, it needs to be known, so that they don't just move states and go abuse somebody else. So there that is. Okay, let me find that and get rid of that. There we go. Okay, so today what I wanted to talk about is shame on them. Like, really, shame on them. So what has been up for a lot of my clients and up for a lot of survivors of abuse is this intense, unrecognized internal dialogue that's just vicious and mean and nasty and cruel. So I wanted to talk about getting rid of that shame, getting rid of all of that crap that they shoved into your space that is not even yours and that you may not be aware of. So how do we get this? How is it that the abusers are gone? They may be dead. They may be thousands of miles away. They may be whatever. And yet we've got this stuff going on in our head that is just damaging and hurtful and horrible and awful and not fair. It's not fair. So let's talk about that. So we're going to have to talk about our childhood. Okay. How we were spoken to as a child, as we were growing up, as we were figuring out who we are in this world, how we were spoken to. Listen to me now, believe me now. How we were spoken to becomes our inner dialogue. I know. So if we had healthy parents. If we had parents that were loving and kind and wonderful, first of all, you would not be watching this channel. But second of all, your inner dialogue would be your inner cheerleader. It would be like, go you, you're fabulous, I love you, good job. Oops, you messed up. Okay, forgive yourself, make amends, do what you need to do to clean it up, forgive yourself, move on. Okay, that's what a healthy inner dialogue says. Okay, it's loving, it's kind, it's forgiving, it's encouraging, it's helpful. Okay, well, this didn't work, let's try that. Let's not beat yourself up, let's try something else. It's kind, it's not damning and mean and nasty. Now, if we had parents that were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that were narcissists, malignant borderlines, abusive, just nasty, then how they spoke to us, which usually was along the lines of not good enough, so stupid, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that, you guns. We take in like little sponges. Little kids take things to heart, like really to heart. And it's really important that we be very careful, very mindful of how we speak to little ones, including our own little ones. Seriously. So how we had been talked to becomes our inner dialogue. And if it was nasty and mean and vicious and rotten and not good enough, and you're so stupid and you're ugly and you're the you, that becomes our inner critic. And the inner critic is a bully. Make no mistakes. And it's unrelenting. It does not stop. It's like the Terminator. So we talked about how the abusers, once they decide to start abusing, they just don't stop. They just keep going and going and going until they're forced to, right? It's like a Terminator. Well, the inner critic is also the Terminator. Now, where the problem comes in is that we have soaked in all of this toxicity, all of these negative thoughts, negative beliefs, mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs, things that are not even true about us. Guess who they're true about? That would be the abuser. So we've internalized them, and this tape is running just all the time, and we don't even realize it. This is where mindfulness really, really comes in to play. So in order to stop the shame, in order to put the shame back onto the abuser where it belongs, you have to tune in to what are you saying to yourself? And more importantly, how are you saying it to yourself? Are you kind to you? Are you respectful to you? Are you gentle to you? Or are you mean and vicious and perfectionistic and you did that wrong and you did this wrong and and whose voice really is that? Who does that belong to? It's not yours. So many times in working with clients, I'll ask them, it's like, whose voice is, oh, well, it's mine. No, it's not. No, it's not. When you are abused, little kids don't pop out of the wombs telling themselves that they're worthless. They have to be taught that. Let me say that again. Little kids don't pop out of the wombs telling themselves that they're worthless. Some a-hole adult has to teach them that. Okay, either by action or inaction, either directly or indirectly, and they will do it both ways. The abusers will. So internal dialogues, how we were spoken to, is that internal dialogue, that inner critic that we have going. Or if you're lucky, it's an inner cheerleader, loving, kind, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. More than likely, if you're watching this channel, it's the inner critic. So you've got to tune into it. You've hear what is it saying to you. Okay. So I'll give you a couple examples. And I've talked about my example before. I'll talk about it again. I'm going to talk about a few others. So and this is in my book, What's Wrong with Your Dad? Available on Amazon. Thanks for playing. Shameless plug. So I was walking down the street and I tripped. And I fell to the ground, and immediately I heard clear as day, "You're so stupid." It was my dad's voice. And I was like, what the? And he was still alive at the time. So obviously this is not anything paranormal. It was like, whoa, what the? And I heard that inner critic for the first time. That was the first time I could identify, this is not mine. Who does this belong to? Because this is not mine. So that was the first time I heard the inner critic. And from that point on, I made a point of listening. What am I saying to myself? Oh, wow, I feel like doo doo right now. Why? Oh, well, I just told myself that I'm worthless. Wow, where did that come from? And then I'd have to deconstruct it and figure out what was I thinking right before I felt bad. So if you are struggling with depression and you're feeling, what's the word I'm looking for? You're feeling worthless, or you're feeling like you're not good enough, or you're feeling whatever. I invite you to start listening to what the inner critic is saying. Then, once you hear it, you can confront it and you can change it. You can replace it with the positive. So, here's the thing. If we've got this running dialogue going on in our head and we're not even aware of it, we're going to feel crummy all the time because we're not even aware of it. It's saying all these nasty, horrible things, just kind of running in the background, just kind of like a radio or a television on in the background. And we're not completely aware of it, but we do know that we don't feel good. So you're going to have to start tuning in. What did you say to yourself? What did you think to yourself right before you felt like doo-doo? You're going to have to pay attention to that. And then you challenge it. So, for example, let's say that you hear the inner voice talking and it's saying something ridiculous like, well, you don't deserve to stand in the cool air of an air conditioner. You're not worthy. What? Okay, I heard you, inner voice. Whose voice is that? Who doesn't want me to be comfortable? Who doesn't want me to love feeling good about my body? Who was that? Oh, mom. Oh, dad. Oh, grandma. Oh, grandpa. Oh, it's like you start making the connection and then you refute it. So inner voice pops up. You don't deserve to feel cool in the air conditioning. How dare you? You're not worthy. Thank you for your input, inner critic. Shut the bleep up. Why? Because you, all of you, are the boss of this. This inner critic is not the boss of you. It thinks it is. It is not. So, no, thank you. I am worthy. I am deserving of air conditioning. I am a good person. I am competent. Whatever this thing has just said that was negative and nasty, you do the polar opposite of. You don't just hang it out with, shut up. You got to go, okay, nope, shut the bleep up. Why? Because I am the boss. You are not. I am worthy of air conditioning, or whatever the issue was. Does that make sense? So you've got to start challenging it, but you can't start challenging it until you actually hear it. So they shove all of these mistaken thoughts and mistaken beliefs into our head because it's about control. Shamers, abusers need to shame us, need to make us feel one down. We've got to be under their thumb all the time. And one of the ways to do that is to make us feel like there is something fundamentally wrong with us, when in fact, there is something fundamentally wrong with the abuser. But they can't accept that. So they spew out all of their nastiness, all of their hateful thoughts, all of their stuff into our little heads when we're little kids. And of course, we believe them. We do. Because first of all, we don't have anything to compare it to. Generally, things don't start getting dicey or cognitive dissonance until we have something healthy to compare it to. And a lot of times we'll notice the uncomfortableness when somebody is kind to us, or when somebody is complimentary, like truly complimentary, not like manipulative, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear so I can use you kind of thing. It's more like when they give you a true compliment, when they're like, wow, you look great today. Oh, no, I don't. Whoa, where's whoa? That's part of the hello. Do you see where I'm going with that? So they shove their shame into our space to keep us down so that we are unable to fight back, because we are so busy fighting the demons in our head, we don't have time to fight them too. And that's the thing of it. When you've got an inner critic going 24/7, it is exhausting. It is exhausting. It really is. And if you're not even aware of it, if it's just running in the background, you're feeling awful about yourself and you're feeling unworthy and you're feeling low self-esteem and, all of that, it's exhausting. So that's why I'm saying it's time. It is time to bring that inner dialogue to the forefront so that you can hear it, you can challenge it, and you can smack it down and replace it with the positive. So, all right. How to put the shame back on them? Well, first of all, you got to identify what these thoughts are. Okay. You've got to identify what you are saying to yourself that is so harmful, that is making you exhausted. Okay. You got to identify what are you saying that is theirs that you're fighting against all the time. So mindfulness is just really paying attention. So it might help to keep a chart. So, wow, 10 a.m., I felt like doo doo. Why? What was I just thinking? And then you write it down. And then in the next column, you challenge it. Whose thought is that? Oh, well, that sounds just like Aunt Bertha. Okay, well, this belongs to Aunt Bertha then, not me. Thanks for playing. So there's a couple of things that you can do. So you can do the whole, thank you for your input, shut the bleep up. Why? Because I say so. I'm the boss. I am a good person. I do deserve happiness, blah, blah, blah. Or you can write it out. What was I thinking? What was I doing? When did I feel awful? What was the thought? Who does that thought sound like? Ooh, well, that sounds like this person. Okay, well, I'm going to hand this thought back to Aunt Bertha or whatever. So the next thing you want to do is, once you have kept kind of a thought journal, like what are you thinking? What are you feeling? So when you do that, gather them all up and you can write all of the abusers a go blow yourself letter. Like, seriously, like, dear abusers, no, here's all the lies you told me. Here's the truth. Here's who I really am, not what you told me. I am handing you back all of these lies. They are not mine. I refuse them. I refute them, and I rebuke them. No, thank you. And you hand it back to them. And then you burn the letter. You can do that. So it's really, really important that you start paying attention to what is being said. And more importantly, who does that sound like? Because I can guarantee you it's not you. It is not you. But if we don't handle that stuff, we have this unconscious stuff running in the background, and that will influence our decision making. It will influence our behavior. It'll influence who we date. You got to get that stuff to the forefront so that you're operating on all cylinders and you're not being run by your abuser. 110%. You do not want that. And let's connect this to the inner child. How old do you feel when you're feeling those awful feelings? What age did you get damaged? How old were you when that thought of not good enough, you're so stupid, you're ugly, you're unworthy? How old? When did the damage happen? So that's kind of like the next layer. So like, we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down by, first of all, pulling out that inner dialogue and hearing it. Secondly, putting it back to who it belongs. Who does that sound like? Okay. And then third, how old were you when all of that happened? And then the next thing that needs to happen is comforting that inner child and helping that inner child replace that dialogue with a real parent's dialogue, which would be, you're going to make mistakes. Forgive yourself. It's okay. Just learn from them. Don't do them again. Move on. You're beautiful inside and out, whether you believe it or not. You're beautiful. And we're not going to believe it at first because we've had so much of that. Not good enough. You're ugly. You're stupid. You're da, 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 da. So you got to get rid of all of that. Blow it up. It's not even yours. Start replacing it. Start talking to your inner child with love and kindness and encouragement. That's part of the mirror work. So the books I'm recommending for this particular issue, the Self-Esteem Workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, there's a whole section on writing down the automatic thoughts. And so for some of us, it's a difficult section because we maybe have never really pulled those thoughts to the forefront and shined a light on them so that we could see them and hear them. because we've been afraid of them. So the inner child is going to have a reaction to that. The inner child is going to be like, you want me to remember what? No, this is scary. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Comfort the inner child. Sweetie, it's okay. All we're doing is identifying where this came from because it's not ours. We're sending it back to where it belongs. It's okay. So when you're doing the mirror work, you're really talking to your inner child is really what's going on because you're reparenting yourself. Hi, good. Have a great day. You know what? It's okay to hear that inner dialogue and send it back to whoever it belongs to if it's mean to you. It's okay. It's all right. I'll help you. It's all good. That kind of thing. Do you see where I'm going? So it's really important to break this down and do all the steps so that we can make the inner dialogue the inner cheerleader. That's what we want. We don't want the inner critic. We want the inner cheerleader. We want the inner dialogue to be along the lines of, hey, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what's beautiful out? Hey, you're gorgeous. Hey, I really like you. Hey, you're doing a good job. Oops, you made a mistake. Okay, clean it up. Okay, good job. Make amends. Okay, good. Okay, now forgive yourself. It's okay. That's how you want to be talking to yourself. And it's not going to be always. I can guarantee it. I had a conversation this morning with my buddy Celeste, and we were talking about how when an abuser comes into our, orbit and they say or do something heinous, it really knocks us off. And that inner critic really, starts in, and you have to really be like, wait, no, who's the problem here? The person who was doing nothing or the person who decided to come at you with their fangs bared? Oh, I would say the person that was, coming at you with your fangs bared. So you don't need to feel guilty. You don't need to feel shame. You don't need to feel. Yeah, it's really amazing to me how easy it is for us to slide back into that inner child shame-filled feeling when an abuser comes in and says or does something cruel, mean, unnecessary, nasty, condescending, etc. And you have to kind of take a deep breath, and it's going to knock you off your stride for a little bit. Give it a couple hours, then get back up on your horse. But it's going to knock you off your stride. But then you have to remind yourself, it's like, look, the world, for the most part, is filled with good people. And there was this one person that was just being a douchebag. So may they have the day they deserve or the life they deserve. That's really the way to look at it. And then think of all the people that are in your life that are good people, and how many interactions you have that are good. But yeah, that one little nasty interaction can absolutely throw you off. And it's because we're so hypersensitive to criticism, because we were criticized harshly as children, and we've been criticizing ourselves without even realizing it from the inner dialogue that becomes the inner critic that just is relentless. So that's why it's important to really identify, what are you saying? How are you saying it? Who does it belong to? Who does this remind you of? Whose nastiness is this? Because it's not yours. Does that make sense? And then, like I said, once you've done all that, comfort the inner child. How old were you when you believed that you didn't deserve good things? How old were you when you believed that if you, were mean to yourself first, maybe the abuser wouldn't be mean to you? How old were you when those thoughts started happening? And that's the age to work the Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor, or Regaining the Inner Child by Lucia Cappuccioni. So that's really important. Now, some people find that when they start working on this internal dialogue and they start making it healthy, it makes them very uncomfortable because they're not used to it. Yeah, it's gonna be uncomfortable. We are not used to it. So I really, really, really want you to do a love letter to yourself. Yep. So, dear little me, or dear big me, or dear whatever me, I love you. You're awesome. Here are all the things that I think are amazing about you. And here's what I want you to remember if a douchebag happens to say something nasty to you. It's like, write it out. We never take the time to do that for a couple of reasons. Something that has come up a lot with a lot of people has been, oh my God, I can't say anything nice about myself. Why? Well, if I do, I'm a narcissist. No, darling, you aren't. Here's the difference. Narcissists need outside approval. They need everyone and their dog to tell them how fabulous they are. That's what they need. Self esteem is just us going, hey, good job. Hey, I approve. Keep going. I love you. Have a great day. That's it. That's the difference. You're not asking everybody and their dog to tell you how great you are. Oh, tell me how great. Tell me how great. I'm a great person. Tell me how great I am. No, that's narcissism. Okay. Self-esteem is where you go, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? You're a good person. Have a wonderful day. I love you. And then walk out. That's just self-esteem. That's just between you and you. That's not between you and other people. So that's the difference. And plus the fact narcissists, they actually don't really say great things about themselves. They want other people to tell them how great they are. They never have quiet moments of reflection and think about themselves or think about other people. I mean, they think about themselves, but not like, gee, let me check in with my self-esteem. No, they don't ever do that. And they don't ever seek help either. So, and if they do seek help, they'll stay with help until the therapist goes, and what's your role in this? And then they're like, peace out. This person's incompetent. They don't know what they're talking about, blah, 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 blah. And they stop therapy. So you're not a narcissist. If you're seeking help and you're doing the right things and you're taking the next right steps and you're conscious and aware of how you impact other people, you're not a narcissist. Narcissists don't care how they impact other people. So, all right. So back to the shame. So we get this, Lucky, please don't unplug my computer. Thank you. We get this shame. My dog is like, I'm going to unplug the computer. We get this shame from the abusers because they want us to feel bad about ourselves. And remember the difference between shame and guilt. Shame is a damnation of who we are as a person. Okay. And that's what they want. They want us to feel like we are worthless as a human being. And that is simply not true. Okay. So guilt is when we feel guilty over maybe a bad behavior. Oh, I did this. I hurt this person. I don't like that. Okay. Well, I need to go make amends. I need to apologize. Are you helping? Yeah, you're helping, aren't you? Yeah, you're a good boy. Sorry. So guilt is when we feel guilty about a behavior, and shame is a damnation of who we are as a human being. And shame is what abusers do. So handing it back to them. So once you've realized who it is, write them a goodbye letter. Like seriously, like, you know what? This is all your BS. It is not mine. This is a lie. I'm handing your lies back to you. These lived in my head for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. I'm not letting them live up there anymore. I'm getting rid of them. I am handing them back to you. You don't get to live in my head rent free. And I am going to call out every single time I hear something that is not mine. And I still have to do that to this day. Like I said, Celeste and I were talking about that this morning. She had a run-in with somebody who was nasty, and so we were talking about it and how to get back on track and, all of that stuff. And it's going to happen because we've had so much training in the negative. We've had so much training in the criticism, and that we're super hypersensitive to it. And so you've got to put it back to where it belongs. So if somebody does a nasty gram to you, leaves a nasty note on your car, wow, coward, it's like, face me, or wow, that person is clearly having a bad day. Well, hope they have a better day and may they have the day they deserve, and let it go. It's not you, it's them. Healthy, normal people don't do passive aggressive crap like that. The ones who do were probably raised by a disordered parent or two. So shame is not ours. We are not born with shame. We are not. It has to be taught. And it's taught by abusers to control us, to manipulate us. I heard one parent, this is years ago, say something to the effect of all I need to do is give my child the look and they fall right in line. And I was like, wow, that's not something to brag about. You want to have a dialogue with your kid. You want to talk to your kid about behaviors that are expected or wanted or whatever. And, or, hey, you did this. I love you as a person. This behavior is not okay. Here's how we need to change it. Do you see where I'm going? Not damning them as a person, not making them feel like a dog, giving them a look and expecting them to cower. That, no. So it's that part of that shame-based parenting that narcissists do to their kids. So if you recognize any of this stuff, here are the books you're going to need to work on this. You're going to need the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor, or Regaining the Inner Child by Lucia Cappuccioni. Facing Codependency by Pia Mellody is always a good one. The Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, 110%. And the last one, and the most important one that I forgot to mention, CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Now, I think it's in chapter 3. He talks about putting all the anger back on to the abusive parent. Again, that's another way they manipulate and control us, is with the raging, right? Which makes us fearful, right? And or shamed. That absolutely, some of us go into shame when that happens. So you want to put all of that back onto the parent that did that to you, or the grandparent, or the aunt, or the uncle, or the, whatever. So you put it back to the person it belongs to. You don't need to keep it. And some of us, and I did this, stay angry at the parent in an effort to try to continue to heal them. You got to let them go. You got to let them go. They've made their bed. You can let them lie in it. Seriously, you can't fix them. You can't. It's beyond your means. And in some cases, the parent will shame the kid for not fixing them. Well, you're this, you're that. You should fix me. You need to heal me. You need to da. No, not the kid's job. Not the kid's job. It's the adult job to heal the adult. Okay, it's not the kid's job to heal the adult. So there's a lot of layers of shame to get rid of when we've been raised by an abusive parent. And it starts with the mindfulness. It starts with pulling out the thoughts. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? When did you feel icky? What was the thought you had right before? And it's going to be a bit of a challenge. It's not impossible, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge in the beginning because we're so used to not hearing it. And I think that in part is a survival mechanism, not hearing it. So, but we've got to hear it. We've got to be able to identify it. We've got to be able to identify who it came from. We got to be able to hand it back to them. And how old were we? And comfort that little one. That is really the important thing. Shame is not a natural state for us. It's not. It's taught. It's learned. It's not a natural state. Guilt, okay, yeah. Guilt for sure. Ooh, I did something wrong. Ooh, I need to fix this. Ooh, I need to make amends. I need to make it better with this person. Yeah, that's okay in small doses. But shame is used by abusers to keep us down, to keep us paralyzed, to keep us fearful, to keep us, so in our heads that we don't ever allow ourselves to enjoy everyday life. Some kids, when they get out of abusive, narcissistic families, find themselves feeling guilty for enjoying simple things like air conditioning, like the beauty of the day. And that's the whole goal from the narcissist, is to keep their target of abuse out of the present moment and stuck in their heads so that they're easier to manipulate. So I want you to remember that. Being in the present moment, working on the self-esteem, refuting, rebuking, refusing the shame is what's going to help you stay healthy, stay out of another abusive relationship, and be happier. So that is what I want you guys to work on. Okay, let me dive into questions. Oh my Lord, I don't have my glasses. Hang on. Let me make this big. Oh, there we go. Okay. When a target of an obsessed narc parent disappears and becomes unreachable, what would the narc do? Oh, Lord. Well, there's multiple things that the narcissist can do. I have seen them become stalkers. I have seen them engage flying monkeys to go after the target of abuse that booked out and said, no more, I'm done. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes they'll do the martyr thing and play it up and, "Oh, my child isn't speaking to me, and I've never done anything wrong in my whole life, and I don't know why they're not speaking." Of course, they know why you're not speaking to them. That's a load of crap. But they'll do that. They'll play the victim, and they'll try to get people on their side, and they'll, do all of that happy horse doo-doo. Okay, how can you protect yourself for the backlash, which can be very violent at times? Well, if you've gone no contact and they start contacting you and you're an adult, then you send a simple either snail mail or email, either way, that says, "I do not wish to have any further contact with you. If you continue to contact me, I will consider it harassment." I don't think I'd do snail mail on that one. I would do a real mail on that one or email on that one because you need to have a paper trail. So if their response is violent, you get a restraining order, absolutely, an order of protection. Or if they start stalking you, or they start leaving notes on your car, or they call your work, or they, whatever, you file an order of protection and just be like, "There's a reason I've gone no contact. This is it. Stop contacting me." You could also talk to an attorney and have them send a cease and desist letter. "This is harassment. Stop contacting my client. We consider this harassment. If this continues, you will be hit with a lawsuit." That's the other thing you can do. I am not above going DEFCON 1. I really am not. I just don't mess with me. So yeah, those are things that you can do. And they will have a violent reaction because they're not getting their way. Remember, you're dealing with somebody who operates on the emotional level of an 18-year-old to a 24-month-old. And when they don't get their way, they have full-blown temper tantrums. And, they're going to huff and puff and blow your house down. Basically, you make yourself unreachable. You block their number. You block their email. You don't allow contacts. If a flying monkey gets a hold of you and says, "Well, it's your mother," or, "Oh, it's your father," you send them an email back and you say, first of all, this is none of your damn business. Second of all, if you bring this to me again, you too will be blocked. Or you could just go ahead and block them. I'd just go ahead and block them. But, you could do that. You basically lay down the law. You're the one with the power in this situation, not them. They think they have the power, and they think that if they bully you enough that you're going to come back. And that's basically what's going on. So, okay, I think that answered that one. How do we effectively prevent narcissists from showing up at the hospital when we're in there? I don't mean the legal document we signed for them not to come, but for doctors and staff to respect our wishes. Okay, well, you're going to have to let them know. You're literally, and it's hard because you've got different nurse staff coming in at different times a day, but you just basically let all of them know. It's like the other thing you can do, get an order of protection. And that way they can't go wherever you are. I mean, that's what an order of protection is for. So if you get an order of protection, it's not just for a place, it's for you. So if you are out at the grocery store and they start, following you down the aisle, you call the cops and they'll go to jail, because they're breaking the order of protection. So yeah, you get an order of protection and you let all of the staff know, and don't be shy about it. I know, here's the one thing I keep hearing over and over again, and this is part of the shame thing. Isn't this interesting? This is one thing that I've heard flying monkeys do. This is one thing I've heard narcissists do as well. "I'm your father. Thou shalt honor thy mother and father." No, sorry. It's two-way street, even in the Bible. The very next line is, "Parents, do not bring your children to anger." So you don't have to honor them. They are nothing more than a sperm donor and an egg donor. If they were abusive to you, you are under no obligation to ever talk to them again if you don't want to. If you want to, okay, but be prepared. If you don't want to and you're done and you don't want them showing up at the hospital, you're going to have to get an order of protection. That's the only way to legally make it so that if they show up, the hospital has to call the police because they're not supposed to be there. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, that's your best bet to make sure that you've got privacy. Okay. All right. I think that is it for today. Next week, let's see. What did I say I wanted to talk about next week? Stop. My dog is like, it's time to feed me. I'm like, no, it's not. Next week, let's talk more about cognitive dissonance. I think that is something that we have not touched on in a while. So I want to talk about that fog that we get. I want to talk about how confusing it can be. I want to talk about why we seem to forget the things that they've done and why that's so incredibly dangerous for us, especially as we are leaving an abusive relationship. So let's talk next week, cognitive dissonance. Let's talk about the fog. We're going to talk about all of that. All right, my loves, you guys go have a fantastic day. Take really good care of yourselves. Remember, if you didn't have a good dad, a lot of us didn't, go do something nice for yourself. Drink plenty of water. It's going to be redonkulously hot here in Phoenix. So take care of yourself, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.